This is the new homepage, which is where all your searches will begin. There are 4 main searches available at the moment, and we're adding to those searches in the future. But at present, you can search by either address, name, company, or parcel, all of which I'm sure are useful to valuers in different circumstances, depending on what you're looking for and how you're searching. That being said, we are going to be adding things like multi-locality searching and polygon searching in the future. So that's going to allow you to search multiple, say, suburbs or LGAs at the same time without having to run multiple searches, or draw a polygon. So if you've got an unusual search criteria around a particular area, street, part of a state that you want to run, you'll be able to draw a box onto a map and search purely inside that box, which will be incredibly useful. And those searches will be accessible from here. If you need to access a different search type, then simply clicking on the heading here allows you to switch between those. And then obviously there's a little helper hint tooltip in here, which helps with actually entering the details. When you are running a search, we also include some additional assistance in the suggested options. So if I type in Brisbane, you'll see that I get a few different options here. And if I mouse over them, it actually tells me what they are. So you can see I've got council areas, I've got suburbs, and I've got streets. And that just helps me identify what I'm about to search, which area I'm about to search. So if we run with one of my previous searches, as we do here, you'll go to a page of search results. Now I've just run a straightforward address search across a suburb, and I've been given all the properties that are in our database in that particular suburb. So you can see here that this has returned 3,732 results and done so very quickly, leveraging our new rapid search technology. We can run searches as broad as, say, state-wide searches. So I could do a full Queensland search as well. And you'll note that that comes back just as quickly. So even though I've returned over 2.5 million properties, it's still very fast. So if you're a commercial valuer or resi valuer, we've got you covered in terms of the power of the search. Further to that, once you're in this screen, you can start to refine your results. So this is showing all properties in the database, but let's say I wanted to look at transactions. I could look at a sales view. So this is essentially a transactional view. It shows me transactions which have occurred in the area in the last 6 months. So you can see I've got a 6-month time window here. I could adjust that time frame if I wanted to. If I wanted to open that up and see more transactions, I can also filter by property type, bed, bath, car, and sales price. Now, let's say, for example, that's not enough for you, Simon. You want to go a little bit further and you want to have some additional options there. You can go to our advanced filters tab, and there is a plethora of filters here that you can leverage. So all those standard core filters here, things like land size, year built are all in here as well, along with subtypes, government type filters, depth zones, land use, etc. And we will be extending upon these filters in Q4 this year, so even more options will become available. You'll also notice up here that we've got historical properties, which is set to false in this instance. And what they are is essentially properties which have been previously subdivided or amalgamated. So properties that don't necessarily exist in present, but are still in the database from back when they did. If you go back to the home page, when you're running a search, you can include historical properties here and run your search, and then you'll get those additional properties that weren't there. So something useful there. Another thing worth noting is that once I've made my selections, I've applied my filters, I've made my selections, I can select the properties I want. So that can either be done through the card view, the list view, or through the checkbox selection here. So selecting all, selecting some, or manually picking properties which meet my criteria should I need them. And once I've selected those properties that meet my requirements, I've got options down here for exporting them. So I can do a simple CSV export. As such, I can select the columns that I'd like to have in that CSV. So if I want to do any further analysis, I can do so. Yep. In here, there is an export limit that's attached to whichever package you happen to be on. So just ensuring that that'll align to your package, and we can work with you to find the appropriate package for your sort of export requirements if you have them. In addition to that, depending on which property view you're looking at, you'll get a different type report. So in this view, I'd get a property list report. I'm able to take headers and footers or property lists in and out of this. In this particular example, there's quite a simple customization, but I'll show you in a second. I can do some quite advanced changes there depending on the requirements I've got. So if I select a large number of properties and I select, for instance, sales, so this is transactions which have occurred in the area, I select those properties and I do a sales history report, I can take away the detail of the properties if I want and just show a summary. We've got a lot coming to this space. We've got some exciting updates coming around watch lists and saved searches. In particular, something that's been of interest to a lot of our users, including valuers, has been a notification system we're working on, whereby you'll be able to set up a particular saved search. So you might be looking for transactions of, say, units or flats in a particular area that are, that meet certain criteria. And you'll be able to set up an alert that'll essentially not only save this search, which is useful if you're running this search frequently, but also alert you when another property meets these criteria in that area. So in this instance, I'd be saying every time a new unit or flat sells in Tenerife, I want to be notified. And so I've received a notification both on my mobile and on the desktop application. So I can go look into that sale and have a deeper look. And that has a lot of applications because obviously you can set whichever search criteria you like. If you want to monitor quarry sales in Queensland, for example, you could set up an alert. And every time one of those went up for sale or sold, you'd get a notification coming through. Go have a look at a property detail page. And all the information that we previously had in RPP, plus some more, is now available here. It is displayed slightly differently, but it hopefully is a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to drill down to. So from a floor plan perspective, floor plans are always called out in this little icon here. So very easy to get to. They're also part of the image carousel that you can scroll through. Should you require a larger image, you can always click on the photo and then scroll through thusly and find the images that you're looking for. In addition to that, you'll notice that maps feature prominently on these property detail pages. You can operate within this map, or you can actually expand it if you want to get a larger view. And this lets you take advantage of some of the layers and other information that we have available here. So just quickly rolling through some of the tooling, we've got a measurement tool. So if you want to check the distance to the local school or public transport, you can do so. You can also measure areas. We can pull a polygon around a particular area and get square meterage out of that as well. If we've made a mistake, we can obviously clear that. And in addition to that, we can also overlay all sorts of information. So if you want to see easements, contours, local authorities, suburbs, all that sort of stuff, that's all available. You can also layer over, say, sale data for the last 6 months, if that's of use to you, to see where the activity is, where the action is. Very useful. And then from here, you can always download the map. So if you require this for a report or for further analysis or sharing with a customer, then that's a great way to go to extract that information. In addition to that, on the property detail page, we do have this property panel, which sort of summarizes some of the key points on the property. So property types, if there's a property name associated, dev zone, year built. In this area, you can also quickly update the data. So if you do see an error in the data or there's been a renovation on the property and things like that, you can very easily come in, upload new photos, change property types, all those sorts of things, or provide any additional detail to us that's required. We thank you in advance for taking the time to do that. And you can also see the last transacted sale. Below, you've got the owner information and household contacts if available, and an indication if they are do not call or do not mail. From here, you can also run a search on this person by clicking on their name and then seeing any other, essentially running a name search across that individual. The full property history is also available here in this panel on the right. If you need to filter by either sales, listing information, rental information, or DA information changes, then you can view it there. And you can view the entire listing history as well. So you can view the property campaign, information about how the listing progressed. You can also view the agency campaign and see detail about how that unfolded, including listing descriptions and that sort of information. down to market trends. We have all the market trends for the suburb in which the target property currently sits. So median values, number of properties sold, all the sort of things you would expect to see from CoreLogic. We do have some explainers here. If there's something, if you're seeing something in the data that requires a little bit more context, you can just mouse over it and get that information. And then on the right, of course, we have our AVM. So in this instance, we can see a valuation estimate and a rental estimate, and we have a confidence rating here and a little explainer about our various confidence ratings. If you require to do some modeling or testing, you can open this up, select the option for modeling purposes, and you can adjust options here to see how changes in this property may influence its value, add additional bedrooms or adding another floor or whatever it might be. That's all in here for you. Or you can also update the data here as well. So should there have been a renovation in this property and an additional bedroom was added, you could increase that count, get a revised valuation, and also update the data, which is fantastic. Beyond that, we've got an additional information tab, which has all sorts of additional information. So lot plan information, issue dates, VG numbers, fee codes, all sorts of information that we've got against this particular property. You can look at property features and building areas. These do vary. So we have information here like obviously lock-up garages, pools, ducted aircon, all sorts of things can appear in here as well. And then land values if they are available also. Beyond this, we've also got school catchments. You can view those catchments on a map. So you can open them up and see where the property is, where the catchment is, and how it falls within that catchment. You can also look at all nearby schools as well. So if there are other schools in the adjacent areas, you can check those also. This is also an area where you could view similar properties that have recently sold, are for sale or for rent. So just another way of viewing those comparables and checking them and seeing how they relate to the target property as well. So very useful for getting that context in the market and understanding what's going on in the local area. We've also got those similar properties displayed at the bottom of the page. And again, you can surface them in that map as well. You can also add, I guess, shouldn't miss the property notes. Quite useful if there's a particular event in there, you can add a property note to that property. That note is yours and yours alone, so only attached to your login. So it's not shared with anyone else. It is, however, shared between your desktop and mobile. So if you're on the road doing a in-person valuation, you could place notes. We have a lot of users who place notes in there as they're at the property. And then when they get back to the office, that information is there ready and waiting for them.
Excellent.
On the property detail pages as well.